This is another reading of Lord Mayher starting at page 3315, chapter heading Dehradun. The year is 1953. What about not touching any woman? Baba inquired. Premananda said that this directive too had not been adhered to, as the woman had to touch him in the course of his illness. Baba summarized as he folded three fingers one after another. You did not come alone. You did not study the books I asked you to read, and you could not keep yourself from touching a woman for just 2 months. That is why I told you in the beginning that it is easier to sit naked on a snowbound peak of the Himalayas than to carry out my instructions. However, I forgive you for your failures in obeying my orders. Forget what has happened in the past. I give you one more chance. This time, no more reading of any special book or books. No restriction about touching any woman. Just one thing. Come and see me on 9 July, but come alone. Premananda agreed and left. Swami Premananda did return on the appointed day, but this time also he was not alone. The same woman and several others were with him. Premananda explained that she was now his spiritual sister, and the other young women were members of her family. They are all interested in you, Baba, he said. Baba chided him. I have no concern with that. My only concern is with my order. Premananda asked Baba if he and the woman could live a dedicated life together by his side. But Baba replied, with me there is room only for one. It is better that you go back and live the life of your choice. Know well that it is impossible to obey my orders unless I will it. This ended Swami Premananda's contact with Meher Baba. On 1 June 1953, Baba left Mussoorie and returned to Dehradun with the men and women Mandali. This time, Baba and the women occupied a rented bungalow at 105-A Rajpur Road. The men continued to reside at 107-A unless Kishan Singh until Kishan Singh retired from government service and had to vacate those accommodations on 20 July, after which the men Mandali moved into Kishan Singh's new residence at 101 Rajpur Road. Since the time Baba had first arrived in Dehradun, Kishan Singh's domestic affairs had been under constant discussion. Kishan was a widower and had become involved with a married woman from Delhi named Prakashwati Sharma, who was staying in part of his house. Baba wished Prakashwati to stay with her husband, but she wanted to remain in Dehradun. On 2 June, Baba met with her and Kishan and remarked, all are dear to me because I myself am in everything, and there is nothing except me. I cannot loathe anyone, as I myself am indivisibly in everyone. So if you both wish to remain together, so be it. Meanwhile, Baba had instructed Kumar to find a few widows who had daughters of marriageable ages, but were but who were too poor to pay any dowry. Kumar managed to locate 3 such women and brought them to Baba on the third. After bowing down to them, Baba presented each with a new sewing machine. There was a disturbing incident just as he started this work. He was interrupted by the unexpected arrival of Mrs. Segal, the mentally unbalanced wife of Mr. Segal, who was hysterical and crying. Later that day, Baba washed the feet of 24 men who had fallen on hard times, each of whom was given rupees 300 as prasad. Baba stated that by helping such individuals, he was helping everyone in a similar predicament. On Saturday, 6 June at 6:35 a.m., Baba left on a must trip through Uttar Pradesh and the Punjab, accompanied by Erich, Pendu, Baidul, Gustaji, Kumar, Elcha, Helan, and Dr. Deshmukh, who brought a Kodak 16mm movie camera along. They traveled in 2 vehicles, a Jeep driven by Elcha and Kishan Singh's car driven by Helan. At first, Baba had planned to be gone for 2 weeks, but because Elcha and Kishan Singh had failed to bring the station wagon Baba wanted, he shortened the trip. Baba was extremely displeased about this and stated it was a setback to the important work he intended to accomplish by having the entire group travel together in one vehicle. When they were leaving, Baba stated to the men, "We now will have to travel day and night without a wink of sleep and work zealously, regardless of the heat, wind, dust, and storm." The idea of undertaking a long tour for 15 days, roaming about together without sleep, was based on some inner work, which cannot be done now. It will therefore be just an ordinary must tour. Last night I did not sleep. I was feeling depressed, infinitely depressed. God willed it so. This is not due to an omission on the part of those detailed to arrange the station wagon. God has thrown dust in my eyes because God knows I was 100% sure of my work in 1953. I was bent upon doing it. God wished it so, and our basis for the 1953 program is also gone with it. At one point, he explained, "My entire plan for 1953 has been upset and has been radically changed. They started on their journey, and Baba's first contact in Bhajan ashram at Rishikesh was Nilkanthwala Must, with whom Baba had worked during the previous march. And the side note says another account states that Nilkanthwala also lived in a cave near Swarg Ashram. Baba re-emphasized that Nilkanthwala was a must of high caliber, being of the sixth plane, and he was very pleased with the contact. Baba liked Nilkanthwala so much that he worked with him again before the tour ended on 10 June. Proceeding to Roorkee, Baba visited the Dargah of the Muslim Qutub Sabir at Kalyar Sharif, and inside the shrine bowed down to his tomb. Sabir's tomb is quite famous in Roorkee. On the road to Muzaffarnagar, about 10 miles from Roorkee, Baba saw a must who was utterly naked. At first, Baba sent Baidul to the must to persuade him to sit under a tree by the road, and then Baba worked with him alone. Baba's contact was over when he laid his head on the must's feet, and afterward Baba directed the men to pay their respects to him. This must had never been previously contacted, and he was later brought to Dehradun, where Baba worked with him for several weeks. In the afternoon, they proceeded toward Bijnor. Wooden planks had been placed across the desert, forming a crude road over which cars could pass. While riding over them, the wheels of Baba's car slipped off the planks, and the car sank into the sand. Helan did his best to extricate it, but the wheels kept spinning and the car sank deeper. It was mid-afternoon by then. The sun was scorching and hot winds blew. Every man gave a hand to push the car out or lift it with the jack, but they could not move it forward an inch. Despite an hour's strenuous labor and sweat, their efforts failed. It seemed hopeless. They had run out of drinking water. Baba was furious. His face was red hot. Elcha recalled. There was not a person in sight to help them, and nothing but sand stretched out in all directions. Finally, a group of villagers traveling to Bijnor on foot lent a hand, and the car's wheels were placed back on the planks. Before they proceeded across the desert, the villagers who had helped in pulling out the car from the sand were each given 1 rupee and a short ride in the jeep, as they had never ridden in a car. When Baba and the men arrived near the Ganges River, they were quite happy to rest on its shady banks a while. The river was cool, and the men wanted to rest. But Baba decided to return to Muzaffarnagar, canceling his trip to Bijnor. They did not cross the Ganges. The cars would have had to be transported across in boats, but instead drove back through the desert. Fortunately, there was no mishap this time, and they returned to Muzaffarnagar in the evening. No sooner had they arrived than Baba wished to proceed on. They drove another 14 miles and reached Charthalwal at 8:30 that night. One stretch of the road was full of potholes, some deep. The bumpy ride was an added aggravation to the men and very rough on the car and jeep besides. In Charthawal, Baba worked with and bowed down to a famous saint named Abhaya Dev. Although the local people there did not know Baba, they requested that he spend the night. During the tour, the Mandali were ordered not to say anything to anyone about Baba as a master, so that people would not know of his identity. Baba traveled incognito as an ordinary spiritual pilgrim to do his work of contacting musts and saints. When the populace of Charthalwal desired that Baba and Mandali should stay overnight, or at least have some refreshments before they departed, Baba refused, and without losing any time for his work, started for Muzaffarnagar. That night, back in Muzaffarnagar, Baba contacted a Mastani named Aladia. She lived in a tiny hovel filled with all manner of rubbish. Since there was hardly any room for one person inside, the Mastani, holding a candle, came out at Baidul's request. Although she was attired most filthily, Baba said she was a high-type Mastani. Baba laid his head on her feet and gave her a 10 rupee note. Seeing Baba, the Mastani appeared highly pleased. May you live long. I invoke God's blessings. She spoke in Urdu. They returned to the dock bungalow at about 10 o'clock. After resting for the night, they drove to Saharanpur at 5 a.m. on Sunday, 7 June 1953. There, Baba contacted a Salik pilgrim named Kalu Mia, a white-bearded man who was found reading the Quran. Again, Baba put his head on this pilgrim's feet. After the contact, Baba remarked that Kalu Mia's nature was like a child's. Mona, could you unmute and continue reading? Would you like to?
Yeah. Proceeding to Kurukshetra, Baba contacted a saint known as Katha Baba. Katha Baba had migrated there from Kathiawar in Gujarat and was worshipped by the people. They then drove to Ambala, arriving at 7 that night, where they stayed in a dak bungalow. Early the next morning at 5 o'clock, the tour started again, heading towards Khana. The only purpose of these travels was in connection with Baba's work, and he mostly traveled without the slightest care for rest. That morning in Kanha, Baba collected a Jain saint called Someshwar Ananda. Another was a mask called Bambi. This god intoxicated boy was stark naked and had a beautiful face with attractive, lustrous eyes. When Baba laid his head on Bambi's feet, the boy cried out, Saki, wine giver, and then ran away into a field. Baba did not pursue him but left immediately, as the young must had recognized him. Early the next, sorry, Entering a Jain temple, Baba contacted a musk monk dressed in an ochre colored robe, whose mouth was covered with a white piece of cloth. Footnote.
Can you see it? I'll
No,
read it if you can't. In Jainism, all beings are sacred. Jain monks have their mouths covered to prevent them destroying insects or even microscopic germs. End of note.
when Baba was about to lay his head on his feet, the man cried out, I have not got so much power, I have not the strength, meaning such an honor does not befit me, and he stepped back. Baidul, however, prevailed upon him so that Baba could touch his feet when he did. Du- Driving next to the town of Kup or Coop, Baba contacted a high and important Mysore type mask named Totapuri, whom Baba had contacted twice before. Footnote.
Baba had worked with Totapuri in April 1942 and again in 1944. End of note.
Totapuri was about 90 years old, a Mazub like Mast who was completely absorbed in his divine state and had absolutely no body consciousness. He was usually found naked, always seated on the dirt, and being impervious to every season, never allowed himself to be kept under a shelter. The worst possible weather did not bother this great being who did not care even to eat or drink. The mask was often found on the side of the road under a particular tree, and if anyone tried to make him more comfortable and give him a mattress to lie on, he would fling it away. In in one second. Huh. In later contacts, he was found in an isolated place away from the village. He had relatives and owned a house in the village, but he never revisited it. His brother and other followers passed their time with him out in the open and tried faithfully to look after him. But as mentioned, Totapuri did not like any comforts, so much so that he did not permit himself to sit on a carpet. He sat on the barren ground, completely merged in experiencing God's love. In previous contacts, Baba had found Totapuri in a Jalali, fairy state, and Totapuri would not allow anyone, even Baba, to touch his feet. By 1953, Totapuri had calmed down considerably, and during this contact allowed the Mandali also to take his darshan without any trouble. Baba bowed down to him several times and was extremely pleased with his contact. Every time Baba bowed to him and touched his feet, The musk cried out in recognition of Baba's state. God hai is exists. God hai. It means he's God. When Baba was engaged in contacting the musk, Deshmukh was talking with one of Totapari's followers. On being asked about their group, Deshmukh inadvertently said something in praise of Meher Baba. After the initial contact was over, Baba was upset about what Deshmukh had done and castigated him. Before starting out, I had warned you that none of you should mention anything about me to anyone. I have gone on this tour as an ordinary man in order to bow down to great beings. One has to be true, utterly reduced to ashes, and then approach such musts in all humility. You men spoiling my work by praising me to others. You do not help me, but kill me. I do this work in secret without anyone knowing me. Unless you become like dust, you cannot help in my work. Whatever I tell you, for God's sake, pay attention to that carefully and act accordingly. Approaching Totapuri again, Baba laid his head on his feet many times. Baba and Mandali remained for a long time in his presence. Baba then proceeded to Ludhiana, where he arrived in the afternoon to contact Dandy Swami, a reserved Hindu saint whom he had contacted 7 years before. It was said Dandy Swami was 108 years old. He was found in a devotee's bungalow amidst a beautiful garden. The old saint would give discourses on the Gita and would not allow anyone to touch his feet. So Baba bowed to him from a distance. After spending the night in the dark bungalow in Ludhiana, early on the morning of 9 June 1953, they drove next to Pillahore. Reaching at 6:30 a.m., Baba wanted to contact a naked Mastani, but seeing Baba, she feigned sleep and covered herself with a sheet. Although Baidul and others called her gently several times, Mama, she would not respond. Baba did not wish to disturb her and decided that on his return he would contact her. So he left for the village of Mao to contact a particular mast. On the way, Baba's car got stuck in a ditch full of water while they were passing through a muddy field and had to be pulled out with the help of some local villagers. They arrived near the village of Mao at 8 a.m., where Baba found one Mas lying naked in the dusk alongside the road. He was a Muslim and was known as Nanga Mast. His naked body was completely covered with dust, and to all purposes he was unconscious of his body and the world. During this contact, Baba laid his head on the Mast's feet, and when asked if there was anything he wanted, the Mast replied, "Feed a roti, chapati spread with ghee, butter to my dog named Babu, and you can feed the same to any other gentleman too." As related, Deshmukh had brought his Kodak movie camera on the journey and would periodically shoot some footage. When he was taking some shots of the bus asked him, "What is that?" Deshmukh answered that it was a movie camera and said he was filming him. Hearing this, the bus said nothing and just smiled. Baba was highly gratified with this contact. The bus occasionally wandered from one village to another, but he did not go far and usually stayed in the area on the outskirts of the village where Baba had contacted him. Returning to Pilahore at 9 a.m., Baba went again to contact the Mastani who had feigned sleeping. The local people respected her and called her Mastani mother. She was a very old and tall woman, highly advanced and naked for the most part, being completely unconscious of her body. This time, when Baba approached her, the Mastani was in a good mood. She was sweeping the veranda of a restaurant with a broom, singing to herself. There is music. Music is playing. Baba appeared very happy with his contact, and before returning to Dehradun, he contacted her again. At 9:20 a.m., Baba proceeded from Filahore to Sikhoka Tala, a remote village where he contacted a Masti known as Pandit Munilal. The monk had locked himself in a house, and a devotee was sent inside to coax him to come out. After much persuasion, he appeared at the door. When Deshmukh began filming him, the monk suddenly became very upset by it and rushed toward Deshmukh, stretching his arms out to pounce on him like a lion. Scared, Deshmukh ran a safe distance away to save his camera and his kid. The mm, could you scroll up? Thank you. The bus did not pursue him. Pandit Munilal then squatted under a tree. But when Baba expressed his wish to lay his head on his feet, the must was reluctant to extend his feet. After much persuasion, he at last agreed. And when Baba laid his forehead on his feet, the must cried out, "Should I break my legs? You have fractured my legs." Footnote.
Perhaps these particular utterances have a reference to the burden of the Avatar's universal work, a part of which must have been shifted onto the must, whereby Pandit Munilal shouted, "You have fractured my legs!" End of note.
Okay. Baba, you can read now. Thank you.
You just remuted yourself, Marvin.
Okay. Should I pick it up here?
Yes.
Okay. After much persuasion, he
Nay, nay.
appeared at the door.
From after
When
the
Deshmukh began filming
Marvin,
him, the
Marvin,
must suddenly became very upset by it and rushed toward Deshmukh, stretching his arms out to pounce on him like a lion. Scared, Deshmukh ran a safe distance away to save his camera and his skin. The must did not pursue him. Pandit Munilal then squatted under a tree, but when Baba expressed his wish to lay his head on his feet, the must was reluctant to extend his feet. After much persuasion, he at last agreed, and when Baba laid his forehead on his feet, the must cried out, "Should I break my legs? You have fractured my legs." Footnote here.
Okay, we'll read it again. Can you see it?
No, surprisingly, I don't.
Yeah, for some reason, Mona couldn't either. I'll reread it. Perhaps these particular utterances have a reference to the burden of the Avatar's universal work, a part of which must have been shifted onto the must, whereby Pandit Munilal shouted, "You have fractured my legs."
While the must was seated, Deshmukh again tried to film him, and this time Pandit Munilal did not pay attention to him, and Deshmukh was able to shoot some footage. The devotees of the mosque wanted Baba and the mandali to remain there for several hours, but Baba immediately left the place as he indicated he had to contact other musts that day. The next stop was at the village of Bara Rurka, where a high Majzub-like must called Baba Chinta Bhagat resided. It was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The must was found lying naked in a room, and a devotee was looking after him. He was quite old and peaceful, being for the most part a Jamali, just like a child. But when he stood up, this must, who was very tall, looked most impressive and attractive. The devotee told Baba about the old must. He had no body consciousness and was indifferent to food and water. For hours, the must's devotees would sit around him, trying to coax him to eat and drink something by singing, as if to a child, "You will eat, you will eat, you will eat sweets. You will drink, you will drink, you will drink milk." When the song was sung, Chinta Bhagat, like an infant, ingested a little milk and a little sweetmeat. When the must was first seen lying in his room, Baba kept pressing his legs for a long time and kissing them. Baba touched his feet several times, bowing down to him also several times. Baba was highly pleased with this contact and kissed the must several times before leaving. For Deshmukh's film, Chinta Bhagat willingly agreed to come out on the road, and it was a remarkable scene, witnessing the tall figure standing by Baba. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon when Baba and the Mandali reached Sangatpur for his work with an advanced must called Noriya or Nakisha Noriya Baba, with whom he had worked before. When Baba had first gone to him for contact 10 years earlier, he had been sitting outside his room near his dhuni, with his head covered with a blanket and inhaling a chillum. For 25 years he had remained in that condition and was unconscious of who came to him and who went. In 1953, he was semi-conscious and stayed in a room. Formerly, he used to keep with him 7 balls made of earth, but now outside his room were 7 shallow pits. Occasionally, he came out of his room and conversed with his followers. When Baba went to him, he was in his room resting. He had locked the door from inside. When his followers shouted that some important people had driven there in cars for his darshan, he replied from within that they should wait until evening to see him. Baidul and the others beseeched him that they desired nothing except his darshan and begged him to open the door for just 1 minute. At last, he unlocked the door and stood on the threshold. Baidul stepped aside for Baba to take his darshan, and after walking forward, Baba placed his head on his feet. Nuriya was also a very tall must, and Baba was highly pleased with the contact. The must told Baba that to reach the road, he should cross over one of the 7 pits. Baba did so accordingly, and Nuriya locked himself in his room again. Baba indicated that he wanted to contact him a second time, so they waited underneath a tree alongside the road for a while. When his devotees informed the must about it, Nuriya refused to see Baba again, saying, "Now that permission to go has been given, he should go. He is now discharged. He is free to go." All these musts had been found by Baidul prior to Baba's journey. He would be sent in advance to locate them and report back before Baba went on tour. Baidul rendered unique service to Baba in this work, which no one else could have done. Day and night he would travel from one remote place to another, and few had any idea of the travails and privations he underwent in this work over the years. He would travel hundreds of miles without any luggage or bedding roll and rest at night on hard wooden benches on railway station platforms. But he was of robust constitution and Baba enabled him to maintain his health while laboring so hard. This is why Baba had given him the title of Sardar, chief of the musts. Headed to Pagwara, Baba and the Mandali proceeded to the home of Helan's brother, where they were served refreshments. Helan's brother was a photographer, and he took several shots of Baba. Then they left for Kapurthala. On the way, the car following Baba's car got a flat tire. While it was being fixed, Baba made an excursion to Hyderabad, where he contacted a must named Kali Prabhat, who was 100 years old, and whom he had contacted before. The must distributed prasad of almonds to all those present. At 6 that night, they returned to Kapurthala. And there Baba contacted a very old Mastani known as Buddhia Judge, or elderly judge. Quite unusual for God-intoxicated souls, she was attired in clean clothes. She resided near the revenue office cum court. People believed she inspired the judges inwardly to give decisions, and the judges acted according to her dictates, thus her name. She looked very impressive, having attractive features and dressed in dignified clothes. Baba bowed down to her, touching her feet with his forehead. Then, accompanied by a Punjabi helper, Baba set out with the Mandali in search of another Mastani named Buddha Rani, or Old Queen. After a search through the town's lanes and by-lanes, she was found sitting in a field alone. She was ordinarily dressed, and when Baidul approached her, she picked up a brick and threw it at him. When he told her that they desired nothing, but had only come for her blessing, she asked Baidul to press her legs, which he did reverently. Fearing that the Mastani would also try to assail him with a brick, Deshmukh stayed at a distance. But now Buddha Rani was completely calm, and she lovingly called Deshmukh to her. Meanwhile, seeking her permission, Baba went to her and touched her feet with his head. She cried out, "Don't fall down at my feet. I desire only a loaf of bread." So Baba gave 1 rupee to a person there who promised to serve her food. Cold water was also given to her by Baba from a nearby well. Another contact that night was with the must called Ramesha, who was found sitting on a raised seat opposite a temple. He was a handsome man and, unusual for a must, was wearing clean clothes. Baba bowed down to him at his seat. Baba then located another must known as Kashiram Baba. He was a young man, also dressed in clean clothes. He was most humble, and his simplicity shone in his eyes. When Baba put his head on Kashiram's feet, the must in turn wanted to touch Baba's feet, but Baba did not allow it. When Baba asked him to sit, Kashiram remained standing out of reverence. When Baba did not permit him his darshan, the must offered his namaskar, but the must was completely disappointed. It was 7 o'clock. "We have to drive back to Dehradun tonight," Baba decided, reminding them no one should sleep in the car, not even to doze. Impossible for me. They arrived in Pagwara via Julundar at 10 that night, and after having had dinner at Helan's brother's house in a half hour, left immediately for Philar, where there Baba again worked with the Mastani called Ma, who was revered by the local people and with whom he had prior contact. She was sitting almost naked on a wooden platform, all alone. When Baba approached her, he gave her 1 rupee coin and kept his head on her feet. The Mastani put the coin in a cleft of the platform, but it fell on the ground. She told Baidul to pick it up. When Baidul handed it back to her, She told him to bring water. Taking the coin, she let it fall in the glass of water and then asked Baba to take it with him. Baba took back the rupee coin, which pleased her very much. Ma was in a happy, loving mood and was friendly to all. She requested more cold water. It was brought from Baba's car and given her. She then asked for cigarettes. Helan gave her 2 packs, from which she handed 2 cigarettes each to the mandali and 2 to Baba, and put 1 cigarette in the pockets of some of the mandali. She then tied part of her sari to Baba's kafni in a knot, symbolic of her close connection with Baba. Baba touched her feet several times. Deshmukh was especially impressed with this woman. From Deshmukh, this woman was of a very high status. We all felt that something great was being done during Baba's contact. She was a fat woman. Her voice was very steady and commanded respect. What struck me was her gaze and way of speaking, her demeanor, her posture, the way she sat. It was her personality which conveyed so much. She was very powerful and can be compared to Hazrat Babajan in some ways, although she didn't have gray hair. Continuing their journey, they left Philor and drove continuously through the night to Rishikesh. Elcha's car had another puncture on the way, par for the course, which had to be repaired in the dark with only a flashlight for illumination.
Yeah, I wonder. I guess they had hand pumps in those days to, pump the repaired tire up again.
Yeah, I mean, they must have been they were very experienced with doing that. Elcha had suggested a cooler and speedy shortcut. But by the end of the drive, they were covered with dust from head to foot, and Gustaji vowed never again to travel with Elcha. According to Baba's order, none of the men had either dozed or slept. Baba had given everyone a tablet to help them keep awake. Those in Baba's car, which had gone in advance, sensed that something had gone wrong and came back to find them. After the repairs were made, both cars started again. Along the way, Baba stopped in Kankal, a suburb of Hardwar, and contacted a naked must, whose lustrous skin was the color of copper. He lived in a garden all year round. When he came to know that a group had arrived for his darshan, he himself got up and went to greet them, but stood some distance away from the men. Baba approached him and touched the must's feet with his forehead. The must related that a week before he had a set of dentures fitted, costing rupees 125, and that since then he had a good appetite. He smiled broadly to show Baba. He then spoke about presenting a carved bone, which he had formed into a weapon, and with which he had destroyed the giant Vratasura, to Dadichi Rishi. You got a footnote, maybe I'll explain that a little.
Dadichi Rishi was an ancient saint in India. The mythological legend is that he sacrificed his life so that Indra could make a thunderbolt out of his bones to kill the giant Vratrasura, who lived in the depths of the forest and harassed people. End of footnote.
Deshmukh was filming the scene, and now in a cordial mood, the must asked the whole group to join him in the film. Baba again touched his feet. Arriving in Rishikesh on the morning of Tuesday, 10 June 53, to conclude the must trip, Baba and the mandali went to contact Nilkantwala again. This time, Nilkantwala was staying on the upper floor of Bhajan Ashram. Sweets and fruit on a thali, a stainless steel plate, were presented to Nilkantwala, and Baba garlanded him. Bowing to the great must, Baba touched his feet and, calling the others, indicated that they should touch the musk cot on which he was seated by resting their heads in obeisance on it. This time Nilkantwala was silent, but wrote on his slate, Kankal, Hardwar, Rishikesh, and Ram Ram, goodbye. Nilkantwala's eyes seemed full of complete peace. Baba at this time indicated to Nilkantwala that he would see him again soon. This was the final contact of Baba's journey, and at 4 o'clock that afternoon, they started their return to Dehradun. They had covered 1,947 miles in 5 days, often traveling in summer temperatures over 100 degrees. Reaching Dehradun at 4 o'clock in the afternoon of the 10th, they were exhausted, to say the least. This journey of musk contacts proved full of extreme hardships. Elan and Elcha, by continually driving without rest, were completely spent. Both cars gave a lot of trouble, and repairing punctures and changing tires caused them much hardship. Physically, it was a terrible strain. At some places, there was no drinking water. The heat was intense, and strong winds raised a lot of dust. At times, there was no place to rest, and sleep was to be had only in the open. Before starting the trip, Baba had warned them, "You are coming under your own responsibility. I will not be responsible if you die on this tour, and none of your relatives should come weeping to me that you have died." Although
Oops, I'm sorry.
Although all of the difficulties and troubles were bitter and hard, the sweet memories of the musk contacts were joyous and pleasant, because Baba, for the most part, was exceptionally happy with his work with the Mustanis, and saints. Yet, as Erich later wrote in an account of the journey, Baba was still upset about setbacks to his plans. From Erich, all along the tour, Baba was seen cheerful and happy. He appeared very satisfied with the must and saint contacts that took place during these 5 days. Nevertheless, after returning to Dehradun from the short and strenuous must trip, Baba remarked that the presence of most of his devotees of Dehradun that remarked in the presence of most of his devotees of Dehradun that although he was completely satisfied with the work done in this tour, yet no number of such must trips, nor any amount of satisfaction derived thus, could ever compensate for what has been undone by things so trifling as failure to procure a station wagon and the consequent repercussions on the picture of work he had formulated and pre-planned in all its details. All his plans had been upset due to the setbacks he received in his important work. It would be impossible to satisfy the limited mind through explanations concerning things beyond the grasp and even beyond the reach of imagination of the human intellect. Hence, Baba said that however much he would like to explain about the setbacks, the disturbances, and the upsets in his plans and work, one would never comprehend the meaning behind all this. Were not Zoroaster, Muhammad, and Baba opposed and persecuted by those who had prearranged and prepared themselves to foil their plans, disturb them in their God-ordained work, and eventually harm them treacherously? Were these avatars and prophets false? If they were truth personified, all-knowing, and all-powerful, then why could they not foresee the danger and avoid suffering untold hardships, humiliation, disappointments, and setbacks in their work. Also, in the life of Jesus Christ, one reads of his temptations and of how he was disturbed and persecuted at every stage of his work. Was he not, in the end, humiliated and crucified? Could he not have saved himself, who professed to be the Savior of the whole world? Jesus Christ, being all knowing, he could have easily foreseen the apparent tragedy, and he could have avoided the awkward situation of the trials. He, being all powerful, he could have wiped off the whole world just with the breath of his unspoken word before he was made to bear the cross and whipped. But, on the other hand, history records the fact that almost just nearing the end, the last words he pronounced were, "O God, why hast thou forsaken me?" Jesus Christ, the Messiah, to utter such a thing seems absolutely ridiculous. But then, what made him show his utter helplessness and hopelessness? Baba concluded that it suffices for him to point out this, that the intellectual mind, which could swallow and digest the setbacks, the disturbances, and upsets so vividly depicted in the history of the past masters and prophets, must necessarily either accept or reject what Baba has to say. Addressing the Mandali at Dehradun on Friday, 12th June, Baba stated about Kumar, "Shatrugna says he would die for me if I ask, and I believe him 100%. Also, he says he does not love me as love is described, and that also is true. Love is a gift." Baba further explained, love for one's wife or children or parents is not love, it is attachment. Love is a gift, and it is divine. When one has it, one sacrifices everything. Freedom is sacrificed. Sacrifice itself is sacrificed. But from my point of view, obedience is higher than love. Obedience, however, is impossible, more impossible than love, because freedom is inherited. Freedom is our birthright, because originally we were free. So when binding comes, freedom is refused to us. The easiest course adoptable in such circumstances is to resort to one binding, which eliminates several bindings, but that too is difficult. Even though a man in obedience may cut his own throat, the idea of freedom is in his action. He is motivated by that idea. Baba repeated a verse from Hafiz about giving up life for the sake of the beloved, explaining, by saying so, Hafiz never meant giving up life itself, for instance, by cutting one's throat. He was referring to giving up one's will, which is 100% impossible. He who gives it up realizes, becomes one with, the master, the beloved. Another couplet of Hafiz asks, why are you after union, love, and spiritual progress? Leave all these to the will of your beloved. Therein you will find everything. To achieve the will of the beloved, do not argue. Know why and wherefore here, because the chosen ones accept from the bottom of their hearts what the Master says. If I tell Nilu, tomorrow I will make you the king of Persia, don't doubt it, accept it. If the next day I tell him, Nilu, I will make you a sweeper in Africa, accept that too, willingly. The third day I may order him, Nilu, leave everything and go out begging. Accept this too, with full devotion. Then Nilu will become Nilkant. Bob asked Nilu what his reactions would be under these three circumstances. Nilu replied, I will accept being a king in Persia and a sweeper in Africa, but I would not like to beg. Have you any responsibility left? Baba asked him and emphasized, it is not love if you have not relinquished all responsibility completely. Baba continued at length. In obedience, only one thought of acceptance remains. One willing to obey 100% has no thought of one's self, relations, or of anything else for 24 hours a day, except the will of the Master. The Master's order, his movement, his will, or any other action of his are not like those of an ordinary person. To live such a life is really not practical because the Master has no, quote, will, unquote, to express. The will of the Master is spontaneous. This will is something quite different from a very, very few, from among rare ones can satisfy for 24 hours. For such a hero, the Master's words, indications, and movements are, in fact, the Master's will. If the Master does not speak with him, that too is the Master's will. If the Master orders one to cut someone's throat, the rare one will questioningly, without even the thought of why, do it. Such a rare one is not concerned with the consequences of such an order, but takes it only as his will. Others may also act accordingly, but in their hearts they have a thought that the Master's order is a test for them, or that it is for their spiritual upliftment. Under such circumstances, there is no question of the will of the Master.
Thank you, Marvin. Eva, could you unmute and continue?
Sure. Deridu, 1953. Those highly advanced in spiritual life never test anyone. They know whether the person concerned would do it or not. Therefore, the perfect ones have no will. When he himself, the perfect master, is in everyone, his work itself is his will. Those who are mindful of it, their every word, their every action is their master's will. But to live up to that standard, that degree of submission, is impossible. Obedience to the master's will should not be mechanical, because it will then be monotonous, dry, and uninteresting. Not only should it not be mechanical, but no thought of self at all, even for a second, should be there. How could these things be achieved? That is, it should not be mechanical, and secondly, no thought of self should be there. It is almost impossible. So what the disciple has to do is to consciously become the very will of the master. Reflecting back on the mechanical aspect, Baba stated, if you are always conscious of keeping the master's will, and the consciousness is not disturbed by the slightest thought, then it is not mechanical. But this is impossible without the grace of the perfect master. Even to understand that the master's pleasure is your pleasure is impossible. But if you always have the steadfast thought that the perfect master's will is your pleasure, then it is not mechanical. What is the will of the perfect master? He alone knows. It is said that when a man realizes God, there is neither pleasure nor pain. In that state, the will of everyone is his will. Baba elucidated further, concluding, love is difficult, but obedience is much more difficult. Yet I think that my Mandali are trying their utmost to obey me. If I were in their place, I don't know whether I would have been able to obey me, even for 5 minutes as they do, considering my nature and temperament. What do you all think? Erich said, none of the Mandali can say whether or not you would have been able to have such obedience. Baba just smiled and changed the subject. On June 13, 1953, looking at Kishan Singh, who was involved with a married woman, Baba quoted this verse from Tucídides on his alphabet board. Consider others' wealth as stone, another's woman as mother. If, following this, God is not found, Tucídides' tongue has no value. Kishan said, I don't agree with what Tucídides says. He too had a wife, and due to her, realized God. Baba responded sternly, give up your sham so that God may be pleased. There is a vast difference between realizing God and pleasing God. It is better not to meet God than to meet and displease him. Now stop all this Gorak business, meaningless, ridiculous chatter. Translating a couplet of the poet Jagar, Baba spelled out, love means annihilation. Don't expect to live in love, but live while dying, and live when you are dead. Aloba asked, when can we expect an awakening in the world? That awakening is definite, Baba stated. It is about to come. It will have to come. Kishan Singh had bought a car, and it was his fondest wish to drive Baba in it. But whenever Baba would leave for must journeys or sightseeing excursions, he would invariably have Halan or someone else drive. But not once Kishan Singh. Finally, after much persuasion, one day, saying in jest that they would all be killed, Baba agreed to take a ride in the car with Kishan at the wheel. But there was one catch. Because Kishan's driving was considered such a menace, Baba ordered a man to run alongside the car and be ready to take over the wheel in case of an emergency. So, to the astonishment of pedestrians and onlookers, Kishan had his wish fulfilled. He did take Baba for a short ride in his car, but with someone jogging alongside them in the street. On Monday, 15 June, 1953, Baba announced he intended to fast for a week on water mixed with lime juice and sugar. He first consulted his doctors, Don, Nilu, and Goher, who said it would not drastically affect his health, and they promised not to interfere with his wish. And we have footnote.
Baba's legs still pained severely at times, and Meherji was instructed to write to Max Hefliger and Irene Billow in Switzerland to obtain and send dromoran injections and tablets. A strong, in parentheses, a strong morphine-like painkiller, enough to last until December. So Baba did take morphine or something similar.
In the vicinity of Dehradun were 4 prominent saints: Anandamayi Ma, Sant Ishwar Singh, Sant Mangat Ram, and Miran Bahai. Footnote.
Anandamayi Ma, 1896 to 1982, was originally from Bengal but moved to Dehradun in 1932, where several ashrams were established in her name. Jawaharlal Nehru's wife, Kamla, was among her devotees. End of footnote.
Baba wished to contact the first three of these, but because he was about to fast, he decided instead to contact them by proxy. He put his head on Elcha's feet and instructed him to go and touch Anandamayi Ma's feet and convey his love and blessings to her. Similarly, touching Baidu's feet twice, Baba instructed him to go to Ishwar Singh and Mangat Ram and bow to each of them. Elcha did as ordered, and afterward Anandamayi Ma expressed her desire to meet Meher Baba. Elcha informed Baba, who sent her this message. Meher Baba was informed of your wish to see him. He says that there is no need for you to see him. If Baba is the highest of the high, as people say, and is in everything and in everyone, then he is omniscient and in you also. Even if that is not the case, then there would be no advantage in a meeting with him. Baba is bowing down to saints, walis, musts, sadhus, and the poor equally, and he conveys his love to you. With this love, he sends his salutation to you. Baba again bowed to Elcha as proxy and sent him back to Anandamayi Ma. After bowing to the woman saint, Elcha conveyed Baba's message. On hearing it, she declared repeatedly, Namo Narayana, obedience to God Narayan. After seeing the two other saints and bowing down to them, Baidu returned and informed Baba, who inquired, what did Ishwar Singh say? He asked me who Meher Baba was. How did you answer? I told him he was a great saint. This upset Baba, and he stated at length, do you take me for a saint? Is this how your heart speaks? Had you said Baba is an ordinary man, I would not have felt bad. After 30 years of association with me, you still call me a saint? Truth and honesty demanded that you should have told him that you don't know who Meher Baba is, but still you have accepted him as your guru. Were this question put to Dr. Deshmukh, he would have immediately replied that Baba is the avatar. I don't mean that you should have declared that. You could have safely said that I was your master. What was the idea in telling him I was a saint? I am not a saint. At the moment, there are a number of saints in Dehradun, Hardwar, and Rishikesh. Here on Rajpur Road, which is the locality of Baba's residence, are 4 saints: Anand Damayi Ma, Mangat Ram, Ishwar Singh, and Miran Bahai. Only yesterday, I explained to the Mandali about saints. In the words of Kabir, the advantage one derives by pilgrimage is one. The benefits one derives by visiting a saint are 4, but the benefits one derives by meeting a Sadguru are numberless. Kabir declares this. Think it over. Baba then remarked that the day before he had thought of fasting for 7 days, but the present rainy weather had upset his plans. He declared, "All my work is being upset at the 11th hour. Every plan I make in Dehradun is upset just when I am about to start. The station wagon failed to come when I was about to go out on the must tour, and I had to change my plan when I was about to wash the feet of the poor. That mad Mrs. Sangal showed up. Elcha said some devotees from Anandamayi Ma wanted to come for Baba's darshan. Baba warned him, if anyone comes, that would not be good for you, adding, when my work is finished, God will see that the whole world will bow down to me." Baba asked Kishan Singh, "What would you say if anyone asks you about me?" Kishan replied, "Generally, when I get a chance to talk about you with others, I refer to you as the avatar or a spiritually advanced person. For heaven's sake, don't call me spiritually advanced," Baba interrupted. "How can you call me an avatar and also spiritually advanced? Either say I am spiritually perfect or an ordinary human being, because I know I must be either ordinary or perfect." Baba again repeated, "When the time comes, God will make the whole world come to me." Baidu asked, "But when will that time come?" "Ask God," Baba quipped. Baidu was ordered to go back to Anandamayi Ma, Ishwar Singh, and Mangat Ram and bow to them without saying anything, imagining in his mind that it was Baba who was bowing to them. Baba then bowed to Baidu 3 times. While discussing his fast with Kaikobad and again mentioning that his plan had been upset, Baba revealed the success of it is in your, Kaikobad's, hands. We must fight until we win, and 50% is in your hands. Baba began his fast from the 16th of June, and as wished by him, the Mandali also fasted with him on the 17th and repeated God's name according to their respective religions. This repetition went on for 1 hour from 11:30 p.m. until 12:30 a.m.
Thanks, Eva Fatima.
You're welcome.
Let's give Rolf Jackson a chance to read. Rolf, can you unmute? And do you want to read?
Oh. If God helps me, maybe I can read. During the course of conversation that day, 17 June, Erich informed Baba that 2 devotees from Saint Anandamayi Ma had come for Baba's darshan the previous day. "What did you tell them?" Baba asked. "I informed them that Baba is seeing no one these days, but they could have his darshan from a distance. Also, that presently Baba is fasting." Baba replied, "Fasting is no great thing. Now the time has come when you should understand me better. My fast relates to my work and is not with a view to achieve any self-importance. So many persons fast daily. Hunger strikes are a daily news feature in the papers. So, of what significance is a fast? And here, Kishan Singh has been making a big noise about the fact that I am on a fast." Annoyed, Baba turned to Kishan and declared, "Go and tell people that Baba is fasting as a penance. Penance for himself, for his lovers, for those who cry out for my mercy, and in short, penance for the whole world. Erich's friend, Jal Kapadia, came to see Baba. After some personal matters were discussed, Jal desired to perform Baba's arti. I am fed up with arti, bhajan, and worship, Baba told him. I only derive joy by bowing to mas, saints, walis, and the poor, and for that purpose I descend on this plane. The angels do my worship. I worship the world. Go to Sant Mangat Ram's ashram on Thursday, 18 June 1953 at 3 p.m., accompanied by Erich and Baidul. Baba Baba went to see the saint. Baba touched the saint's feet and immediately left. He stated, Mangat Ram is a genuine seeker. He is really a saint. As he seeks wholeheartedly, he is really a saint as he seeks wholeheartedly. He is anemic, yet eats only 4 ounces daily. Once outside, Baba sent Erich back to the saint to tell him that it was in fact Meher Baba who had bowed to him. Mangat Ram told Erich, the world is full of cruelty and wickedness, and Baba should save mankind from its effects and results. In reply, Baba commented to Erich, now even the saints are feeling disgusted. When they returned to their bungalow, a discussion arose about those who claimed to be the avatar. Baba made these remarks. It is true that many in the world today declare themselves as the avatar. Every follower and devotee calls his teacher avatar. There are 75 in the world who claim this highest spiritual status, but only one is real. Of the rest, half are under self-delusion. The other half are bogus pretenders. Baba continued, I ask you, if everyone is avatar and the avatar never suffers, how is it that you seek redress when you suffer? All this is a mess created by Vedanta. It says everyone is God. It is true, but only a realized one can say that. If on the strength of this statement in Vedanta, one were to say, I am God, then Godhood would not be at peace, even for a moment. Knowledge says so. The Upanishads say so. But if we go by this theory, how can love for God be created? Whom to love then? Knowledge does not dawn automatically. So they, the false avatars, are led by the intellect and act accordingly. Thus they become truly deluded. Speaking about mas, Baba remarked, when one gets intoxicated by divine hallucinations, later on one becomes genuine. There are a number of such nangas, naked ones, in the world, nangas, in the world, of whom even God is afraid. They do not care even for the avatar. They are merged in samadhi, in bliss. The world is dead for them, and they are dead to the world. Referring back, Baba stated, an atheist and a Vedantist are one and the same. Vedanta is all gossip, intellectual gymnastics. Only when God makes me speak and prove his godhood will people come to know. Mentioning charity, Baba remarked, the greatest virtue is called charity, not this ordinary charity. Real charity means tolerance due to big-heartedness. Tolerance and forgiveness are included in real charity. It is also charity to offer the other cheek when slapped. In fact, to lose, to make others gain, is charity. To lose, in fact, to lose, to make others gain, is charity. It is a vast thing. Prayers were offered at 8 a.m. on the 19th. Baba first bowed to Gustaji, and then, with his hands folded, he stood quietly in a reverential mood before Erich, who read out these lines, dictated by Baba. My salutations to all the past, present, and future perfect ones, Kutubs, Majubs, Mas, lovers, and seekers of God. I today remember with my love, in accordance to their love and faith, my physically departed following lovers. I today remember with my love, in accordance to their love and faith, my physically departed following lovers. As the mandali remained standing, Elcha read out the names of the departed ones who loved and served Baba. Baba then laid his head on the feet of each of those present. Baba ate a few biscuits at noon and thus broke his fast. Jai Baba. Would someone else like to read or
Well,
continue?
we can stop here if you unless you'd like to read another page, Rolf.
It's up to it's up to what's the majority say, or you, General?
We all have read, so if you'd like to read another page, go ahead. Otherwise, we can pick up here next week.
We're still kind of in the swing of a continue. This is a continuous event. Let's see what the next page offers. Kishan Singh and Prakashwati were staying in the same bungalow, and on occasions Baba would see Prakashwati. Later that day, Baba suddenly asked Kishan Singh about her and came to know that she had gone to the woman saint Anandamayi Ma. Baba cuttingly remarked, "It is good Prakashwati visits other saints. Now I am no longer responsible for her." Kishan attempted to explain. Prakashwati went just to pass the time because she is alone at her house and feels bored. Her mother is also there with Anandamayi Ma. If Anandamayi Ma tells her to do a thing, and if she does not do it, she will be in big trouble. And if she does it, I will be free of her responsibility. Baba then admonished Kishan. You are mine, and I seriously warn you that Prakashwati will lead you to disaster. Anandamayi Ma and Ishwar Singh are on the path, but if you take me as the head of all, then it behooves you to act responsibly and not go to every door. This meant no association with other gurus. Baba continued, if Prakashwati benefits, or finds any advantage at the hands of Anandamayi Ma. Then up to July, take her to All Saints here. If at the end of July both of you still feel that only Baba is real, then you should fulfill your promise of dedication to me. This meant paying some amount of money to Baba for his poor work. If I am what you take me to be, then you should catch hold of me, only me. On my part, I must see that you become so helpless that you cannot leave me, and then no third power should interfere or influence you. I do everything 100% spontaneously. To my mind, greatness lies in that. The highest of the high is always most spontaneous. When Prakashwati is not confused, she says she cannot live without Baba. If she said this from the bottom of her heart, she would not dream of ever going to Anandamayi Ma. It is quite a reasonable and logical assumption. Were Prakashwati to love me 100%, and were I to disregard her completely, still she would have no place for anyone in her heart, and would not leave me. According to Baba's behest, Kishan Singh took Prakashwati to different saints and also to Anandamayi Ma. Baba had given Prakashwati freedom to visit other saintly persons, and she did so. The result was not harmful, but wonderful, because in the end, she remained uninfluenced by any saint. When Prakashwati went to a saint, she would feel a sort of uneasiness, and that Baba was pulling her away inwardly. That's okay.
Yeah, keep reading just because it'll sort of finish the story.
Consequently, on her own, she stopped going to any saint and began singing kirtans about Baba at the residence of Bal Kishan Bakshi, residence of, I can't say it, Bal Kishan Bakshi, and his wife, Meher Kanta. Every week, Prakashwati would perform kirtans in their bungalow, with this favorite line echoing: born of Shiva's phallus, Jai Meher Baba, Jai Meher Wan. Oh, that's touching. Kishan, too, would sing so loudly that he was heard in the Mandali's quarters, and Baba would hear him. Thus an amazing transformation in Prakashwati occurred, and Baba played his game of keeping Kishan Singh bowed forever at his feet. At his holy feet lies the tavern, which provides ample shelter for all, and even those unwilling to come to him were drawn there by his infinite mercy. So you want to go on a little bit further yet?
Might as well to the end of the page, yeah.
Conversing with the Mandali on the 19th of June, Baba observed, there is an advantage in approaching a wali, and also a disadvantage at times, but there is no question of loss or gain in approaching me. Still, when my will manifests, all will be blessed, all will be blessed automatically. The whole world will be blessed, and God will do it 100%. Alaba asked, when will you break your silence? Baba smiled and spelled out, after 1200 years. When God makes me speak, I will speak, and it will be the word that I utter, the true talk. Buddha, Krishna, and Christ have gone after saying something, and so will I after speaking something. But when I speak, God will not make me speak all this. Whatever I say now is already written in books, and it is all repetition. Only when God makes me speak will he express and prove his godhood through me, and that is quite a different matter. Jabon.
Once, oh yeah, go ahead.
Once in a cycle, God does this. It depends on his whim. But when God makes me speak, my speaking will be approved. It is quite true that my word is universal in nature, and every saint, wali, and lover will help in it 100%. God will do all this, and I am looking forward to the time. I am keenly waiting for it. I only know that God will make me speak. When I utter the word, God's existence will be proved. And for that to be done, the help of the Mas, saints, and Walis is essential. I am taking their help.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Ralph. We'll pick up next week, 33, 38. Let me turn off the recording.